starting out October, we have Halloween season coming up. I absolutely love Halloween. Therefore, for my Halloween watch, I have the Jack-o'-lantern, the 116588 SACO. Been rocking this for a bit in mint condition. We have it for sale here. Absolutely love Halloween. So I already got my outfit. I'm being Batman, my son's being Spider-Man, and my daughter's being Tinkerbell. The Poorman household, we absolutely love Halloween. As a kid, my grandma made me a Batman suit, and I used to drive around the Batmobile. I'm excited to wear Batman. With that being said, one thing I wanted to talk about today, my experience in wearing many of these watches. As the owner here at G&G, when we get pre-owned watches in, I like to wear them myself, try out the various complications, just wear them also like, as a utility, what I can do in them, if I'm able to swim, not swim, how comfortable they are. Starting off for me, I absolutely love automatic watches because depending on the watch and the power reserve, your watch is like always spot on time. And with some brands, it's different. I think a lot of it's just, the power reserve. But for that, the Rolex Daytona is an absolutely amazing watch. You can wear it, man, for days, weeks, and I feel like you're always on time versus automatic. You have to wind it and then mentally think, I need to wind my watch, and then you have to reset it and rewind it. And after a while, that's a pain to me. I do see how some customers of ours like doing that because it's like, the interaction with their watch each day. And I think if I had a larger collection and I didn't have a winder, that I would, not mind that because, I'd have to set the time for the watch regardless. So I have had Bubba Watsons, also have worn this America's right here. From a comfortability standpoint, I think this watch is a lot more comfortable than a Daytona, even steel. It's curved to the wrist. It's so comfortable. You can't beat an RM as far as comfort. Why it's one of my favorite brands, probably my favorite brand. It is painful at times when, you can remind yourself like in the morning and get into like a pretty good groove of winding the watch every morning so you have the power for the day. And I kind of like that. But after a while, when you forget and you have to keep resetting it and resetting it, it's a pain. And then even with Journes, it's the same way with like an RQ, for instance. You have the power meter right here, right? Your power reserve. I like to call it the power meter. Here and there, you have to wind it up and make sure it's fully wound so the watch is on time. That can be a little annoying. For me, it is. From a comfort standpoint, with it being platinum, it's a little bit more uncomfortable. I would say like a regular Daytona, even on the leather strap. But what I really like about this watch and just Journes in general is just the pure beauty. The open case back, you have the resonance movement, which is absolutely insane. So you have the two wheels in the back going simultaneously. Something like a Rolex just feels really bland and basic, non-open case back. And even just like an AP open case back with a rotor in the back, very, very boring versus something like this. So this to me is like absolute art. The balance is tricky because the usability on a Daytona is just epic on how it's waterproof, bomb-proof. You could have it on for 2 weeks and you're still on time. With this, winding it is a pain, but there's just something about the specialty and rareness of these watches that really draws me to these. RM is the same boat, a lot more comfortable, but with RM, you're also winding the watch for majority of them. And some of the automatic ones I don't really like. Even the 3503 is an automatic watch. I wore the 3503 quite a bit. The 3503, I absolutely love that watch. It's very, very comfortable, but being an automatic, it's not as flawless as this. I definitely, in owning a 3503 for a month, had many times where I had to set the time versus a Daytona and Rolex. It's just bomb-proof. Even 6702, I had a 6702 for a year and a half and I found myself resetting the time quite a bit. And I wear my watch as I sleep in them. So I just wanted to talk about that from my experience in wearing these watches. A lot of people, to buy certain watches, whether, for investment purposes, style, fits their personality. That's the beauty of watches. There's just so many different uses for them. So that's just my experience in using these watches. So when you go to buy and purchase one, you can have these tips in mind. And another watch that I've dailied is several Nautiluses, 5976 1G, 5711, 5712. These watches are very similar to the Daytona. I love new style class. 5976 1G didn't have new style class, had the old style class, which one, you can't get off the wrist, which is great, but it's just not as easy to open. It's just kind of a pain. You really have to pull to open it. Both watches, as far as like being on time, are absolutely flawless. They're very similar to Rolex. Both of them are just great utility watches. And I love that in the sense that I wouldn't have to go back wind it. I could always rely on it. So I found myself using my watch a heck of a lot more than my phone, and then resetting the time, etc., than I have with certain Journes and Richard Milles. So after 5 years of wearing these watches, that's kind of like my quick 2 cents on various watches and just basically material, and then also whether it's automatic or manual wind watch, what you have to go through on a daily basis. Now I'm going to pass it over to Lake to talk about various complications. He's going to talk about what's usable, what's not really practical, so Lake will fill you in on that.
All right, guys, it's Lake with G&G. So Garrett just talked about what he likes to wear. I thought I'd kind of talk on the same. I mean, I do love mixing up my watches. Really love wearing Richard Milles. I love wearing Rolex as well. I mean, Garrett was kind of talking about how bomb-proof the Daytona is. I'm wearing a Daytona right now. This is actually a new reference, meteorite, yellow gold. I love this piece. I really do. I think that in general, Rolex is a watch that you can wear and really not like think about. You really don't have to wind it that frequently. It's generally always on time, especially for a Daytona. It's super comfortable. You can adjust the size. The complication is very usable. I mean, the Chrono, I don't time too many things, but for cooking, for a lot of other things in which a timer would be beneficial, the chronograph is a very, very straightforward and easy complication to incorporate in your life. Now, talking about the other brands that I really do love to wear, now RM, I love RM. RM is the watch that generally is the most comfortable, unless you're kind of going for those bigger, heavier pieces. But even them, I mean, the watch is contoured to your wrist. It feels different. And the cool thing about RM as well, I'm definitely someone who likes to like match my outfits, and being able to kind of change the strap to match an outfit is something that I have done consistently. FP Journe, I've spoken a lot on FP Journe. It is my favorite watch company. I just think that they're pieces of art. When I'm wearing one, it generally is the watch that I will be stuck staring at and distracting me from work. But obviously there are a ton of different Journe complications. Other watches have a lot of different complications as well. And some complications are very usable. Some, honestly, not as usable, and may also make it more difficult for you to kind of keep the watch on proper timing. Also, setting a watch may be more difficult due to the complexity, such as AP perpetual calendars, where you have to set it with a pusher, and there's certain times that you don't really want to use the pusher because you could mess up the movement. So I'll kind of walk you through a couple different watches, different complications that I love and will actually incorporate, and other complications that may be awesome, but more for aesthetic purposes. Kind of starting off here, we have an FP Journe tourbillon. A tourbillon in general is a complication that I feel is more for aesthetic purposes. It is gorgeous. I mean, I could stare at this dial forever. It just really captures your eye. This is a piece of art. The time savings is what a tourbillon is geared to do, and it's obviously not something that you're going to be able to realize in terms of seeing that your watch doesn't kind of reach an inaccurate time over a period of, let's say, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. The aesthetics of a tourbillon are awesome, and there isn't too much added complexity via complication that wouldn't be very usable for a piece like this. So in terms of a TN or a different tourbillon, I mean, it's very useful because there isn't really a complication that is difficult to set or difficult to stay on top of, such as a perpetual calendar. This watch is beautiful, easy to use, easy to set the time. I love it. Obviously, where you can tell the time here, it's a bit smaller. So if you're someone who doesn't have the best eyes, it may be a bit difficult for you to like tell the time perfectly. But honestly, I think the TN does a great job. It has great balance. I don't have any issues with telling the time on this piece. Here we actually have the Resonance. Now the Resonance is one of my favorite Journes, favorite watches in the world. This is a watch where I could literally stare at the back of the watch forever. I love the Resonance. I think that this movement is the most beautiful movement of any watch, of any brand. This is pretty similar to the TN. You'll see a lot of similarities in terms of the design. The TN has obviously just time only. The Resonance has, in a basic way, a GMT function. So you have two movements that are independent of one another. Obviously, you can only have one time set. This watch, if you're traveling and in between different time zones, it can act as a GMT. Now, Journe actually prefers that you just have them set to the same time because this watch is supposed to be in sync, and that's what really shows you what the Resonance can do. But A GMT function, great function for a watch. The complication really does add value for people that travel. Having 2 different time set is super valuable. This watch also very usable. You can kind of use it in a way that just really accentuates the movement and the technology of the piece. You can also utilize the GMT. So this watch, very easy to kind of take the value of the complication. It's also not too terrible in terms of how difficult it is to wind. It's harder to wind than other pieces, but if you were to compare the RQ to like the RN, RT, or the older resonance models, having the crown be on the right side of the watch as opposed to the top definitely makes it easier to wind. Great piece. Another watch that I really do love, obviously I love Chronos. The Centigraph's a really cool piece. I love the technology, the story, just the capability of this watch is really impressive, because basically what you have here is you have a chronograph, but instead of it telling you just seconds, it can actually tell you down to 1/100th of a second. So if I click the top of this pusher, it's going to stop it, and this indicates 1/100th of a second. This is a far more granular chronograph, which obviously super impressive. Do I ever find myself needing to measure 1/100th of a second? No. So I would say that the aesthetics of this piece, like I definitely find more value from the aesthetical benefit of watching this constantly move. Like obviously the power reserve in this watch is incredible. Number one, it's almost 80 hours of power reserve. So you do have a great power reserve, and it cuts it down to 24 hours if you actually have the chronograph running. If I'm gonna wear this watch, I'll wind it. I love watching that thing move. I'll kind of suck it up and wind it a bit more frequently. But I think that this chronograph for me is a bit more aesthetic. This chronograph is a bit more usable. The tech is just super impressive, and I really love that piece for that reason. Moving on to some other watches, we have a split second. So now when we talk about actually timing things, split second's a great watch. You can actually, if you're watching races and you want to time something, or you want to time 2 different things simultaneously, or track laps, having a split second is a great watch. Now the great thing about the Journe split second is actually it's a much thinner split second than, let's say, a Patek 5204 or other split second complications. This is a great watch because I feel like a lot of times if you are in need of a split second complication to time things, it may be a setting that is not super formal dinner. So having a split second in a dress watch that's really thick is not going to be as usable as a piece like this, and that's why I do think that this watch is a great piece. Obviously the complication is incredible, and the fact that they're able to put the split second in this thin of a case makes it a very succinct watch, and it's something that not many other brands actually have. A sporty watch with a split second complication, really impressive, and a piece I definitely do enjoy wearing. Now moving on to some other interesting movements here. Now look, we have moon phase. So a lot of different watches have moon phases. This is obviously a Havana. I think the dial is beautiful. Put this watch on a couple other straps. Struggle to stay on top of setting the moon phase. I feel like I genuinely don't use it that frequently. For someone who's more into astrology, you may be able to pull more value out of a moon phase. For me, I just never have it set properly, especially when I've worn like AP perpetual calendars. Staying on top of having that watch set properly is just a bit tough for me. I don't feel like I use it very frequently. I actually am one, if you were to compare like a Journe Octolune versus just a regular AN, I would take the AN. I like the simplistic dial without a moon phase more than the aesthetical benefit of the moon phase. Some people obviously will disagree with me, but that's just my opinion. I don't really use moon phase complications in my life, and I would rather not have to set it and stay on top of it. I also like the simplicity of not having it there. We have a lot of great time-only watches here. So in terms of a time-only watch like the CB or a CS, this watch is incredibly usable. Obviously, it's very easy to tell the time. It's probably the easiest to tell the time of any of the mechanical Journes. I love mechanical Journes. I think their mechanical movements are better than their automatic movements. I think it kind of represents a bit more of the ethos of the company. So the CB, CS pieces that I really do love, very easy to utilize all the complication. The second sub-dial here, very easy to see. The dial is obviously beautiful, and the hands that are on Journes are just unmatched. I mean, I just think the dial aesthetic is incredible. This watch is great, easy to use, awesome piece. Moving on to a couple other pieces. This is a unique one. So I was talking about GMT functions before. This is a beautiful way to have a GMT function on your watch. Now, the UTC awesome piece. Just look at this black dial. The way it actually accentuates the different colors in this globe and really draws attention to it is awesome. You have a GMT function here, and you also have this globe here, which will actually, it's a top-down view of the globe. Really cool piece. Would I utilize this function? Probably not. The aesthetics of this, awesome, and there definitely is a use case for this complication. I just don't think I would be able to stay on top of it, but definitely a usable function. I wouldn't say it's kind of too much complexity for no use case. I definitely think this is a really cool piece. Going down to this bottom row with a couple other brands other than Journe, one that I'll kind of talk on first. This is a really cool piece too, the Vacheron. Now you have a tourbillon in this piece, obviously time only turb. This watch is titanium, super rare, recent release. I think it was released about a year ago. This watch, tourbillon, obviously aesthetical benefit, time only, still simple, easy to tell the time, and a great piece. Another watch that I really do like staring at the dial. Here's another tourbillon, just to point on that. Obviously easy to set the time. Turb is really cool to see at different angles. Love the watch. And now to Patek. The 5712 is probably my favorite Nautilus. You obviously have a moon phase here. I know I said I don't love moon phases. I do love the aesthetics of this moon phase. I think the asymmetric dial is really special. You also have a power reserve indicator. I do love having power reserve indicators just because it helps me stay on top of winding it. I'm not one to always have my watch on winders. Being able to stay on top of it if I did want to keep this moon phase on time, knowing when I need to just crank it up a little bit is very beneficial because, like I said, I'm not one to kind of set moon phases and stay on top of it. This watch works really well for me. I do love it in both the gold and the steel option. Definitely one of my favorite pieces. Obviously, people are gonna have different lifestyles. People are going to wear watches differently. I mean, I know so many people that will have beautiful watches and don't even have the right time on them ever. And then there are some people that really take the functionality of these watches to heart and really want to accentuate the value of the complications. Whether you're on both sides of the coin there, different watches will suit you better. You'll find a way to enjoy any of these pieces like we do. Come check out multiple different complications, whether you love them for the technology or the aesthetics. I'm sure you'll fall in love with some of the pieces we have at G&G.